Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for our AI and blockchain panelists. Ben, take it away.
So thank you all for joining us today. My name is Ben Body. As Lee had mentioned, I'm the VP of Innovation at the Dallas Regional Chamber. Some of the things that were, before working at the Chamber, actually, I was heavily involved in sort of doing metaverse and blockchain technology. So I'm really happy to have moderating this very esteemed panel, a good group of people. We were just chatting it up back there, and it's a very natural sort of our conversation that we were having. Looking at sort of the way that we are looking at technologies today, and particularly the way that it's converging. When you look at sort of the different technologies that are out there, AI, blockchain, and a lot of these other emerging technologies, you're seeing them coming together and sort of merging and converging into one area. And so speaking of convergence, I wanted to share with you all that the Dallas Regional Chamber will be hosting a Convergence AI Dallas event. This is going to be one of those events where we try to showcase the DFW Metroplex and really try to put the moniker on this area as an applied AI center. You kind of look at the what's happening in the Dallas-Fort Worth area right now. You got a lot of C-suite companies that are moving here. A lot of companies have reached out to us and want to continue to move here. The growth has been tremendous. And so what we want to do at the Chamber is really highlight those things. And I lived in San Francisco. Unfortunately, some of the things that are happening over there aren't happening here. We want to really not capitalize on it, but be a different voice in that AI world and be that world that's applied AI and really looking at how is AI applying to businesses. So So I think they're supposed to put up a QR code, but maybe they haven't yet. There's going to be a screen up there. You can take a little picture of the QR code, and then please, register for it. It's going to be in the springtime, and we're looking to really have a good group of people there. We have a great panel today and a great topic really to discuss. I want to introduce each of these great panelists that we have here. First, we have Raquel. Raquel is with Deloitte. She works in emerging technologies. She brings a great overview of how technology is being integrated into the workplace. Next, we have Mark over here. Mark is the VP of Product Management with high availability and blockchain technology with Oracle. And next over here, we have Zach Hughes. Zach Hughes is actually a former Special Forces soldier and the president of GPT Leaders. And finally, we have Carlo. Carlo's a partner in crime in the region. He's the chief strategy and innovation person at the city of Fort Worth. Last meeting that me and Carlo had, we were planning out the technology for the World Cup, so we have a good time sometimes. So I just wanted to introduce each of them, and since I introduced you last, Carlo, I'll start with you. Carlo, give us some perspective from the government. How is innovation being utilized in government? Can you tell us a little bit about how the city of Fort Worth is partnering with and tackling and integrating new technologies like blockchain or AI and improving your government services and reaching your people?
Well, Ben, thanks for the opportunity. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the city of Fort Worth. We're so happy that you're here on behalf of our mayor. Thank you. Yes, Texas-sized applause. On behalf of our mayor, Maddie Parker, who sends her best greetings, she wanted to welcome you to the 13th largest city in the country, to the fastest growing large city in the country. And to be growing fast means to be thinking outside the box. My role is brand new in the city. The very first time we've really talked about true innovation. And spoiler alert, local governments are very risk averse, if you didn't know. So the things that we're doing, the things that are coming out of my office, the conversations we're having in Fort Worth are not normal conversations for local government. For example, did you know that the city of Fort Worth was the first, and I think still the only city government in the country, and one of the few in the world, to be actually mining Bitcoin as a city government? We did this a year and a half ago with help from the Texas Blockchain Council. And big shout out to our friends. I know they're here from NYDIG and Luxor, because this is the power of collaboration. For any of you out there selling a product or a service, if you want to volunteer your time to help a local government, they will almost always accept. When it comes to metaverse or blockchain or AI or ChatGPT, because there is a fear of the unknown by some of the older generations that are leading cities. It's like I said, cities are very risk averse, but we are honored that you are all here. We are currently exploring use cases for blockchain, for artificial intelligence. So if you have an idea for a wonderful or effective use case, and I asked my panelists before, they're going to reach out to me, we would love to pilot your idea right here in the city of Fort Worth. And again, on behalf of our mayor, we'd like to welcome you to Fort Worth.
That's what I love about Carlo. He's always open to new ideas and always looking for partnerships. And that's what, really the Dallas Regional Chamber is a regional chamber. We work with everybody in this area, Dallas, Fort Worth, all the suburbs. So it's great to have a partner like him that's trying to do new things. Wakel, obviously from your purview, you have a pretty insightful perspective on sort of emerging technologies and things that are sort of coming out with your work with Deloitte. Looking at, could you share a little bit about how Deloitte is thinking about the intersection between blockchain and AI, and what trends or challenges Deloitte has observed as businesses integrate these emerging technologies?
No, it's a great question. And hello, everyone. It's great to be here as well. I have the privilege at Deloitte of leading a group of emerging technology researchers to do just this, is to figure out the intersection of multiple different technologies. I've been walking around. We have a Deloitte booth back there. And one of the questions we've been getting is it AI or blockchain? Are the two competing against each other? And in fact, I think it's quite the opposite. I think the two technologies really need each other. So let's take AI, for example. AI has been having a breakout year. Whether you're a large enterprise, a small business, a citizen, everyone is using AI, generative AI capabilities these days. The problem, however, is that for all the value that AI has brought, it's also creating what we'll call a trust gap in the market. So folks are asking questions, saying things like, how is the training data being used for this model? Or how is this model actually functioning? Or how do I know the outputs from a model if it's AI-generated content or human-generated content? And so when you have a trust gap like this, the natural next question is, well, how do we bridge that gap, right? And so you should look at the technologies, the people, the processes, everything at your disposal to say, how can we really leverage the value of AI while making sure that we're closing this gap? And so if you take the technology side of the house, I would say that blockchain as a technology that shows provenance, auditability, creates a single source of truth, the foundations of trust in essence, is a great technology to be used as one of N tools in the chest to be able to close that trust gap. Now, there's other things outside of technology, too. We can talk about designing from trust in AI systems from the beginning. Deloitte has our trustworthy AI framework where we make sure that we're really thinking about things holistically. But I think in my mind, I'm like, AI needs blockchain, and there are certainly ways in which blockchain needs AI, too. So AI can help in blockchain, different blockchain systems and security, in process efficiencies, in smart contract automation. And so when I think about the convergence of the two, it's really, thank goodness that AI is having its breakout year, because I think the two technologies will fuel each other. I think the companies, the organizations that are willing to look at both in tandem will be stronger. And I really do think that now is the time for both of them to intersect. So it's a very incredibly exciting time.
Thank you, Raquel. I think that's a great perspective to really look at these technologies in their silos. I think they're both very impactful by themselves, but when you converge them, and like how Raquel had talked about, when you see the benefits, you maximize sort of those uses. And you're seeing a lot of companies use this, I think, in healthcare, pharmacy, and different areas where they're both using AI and blockchain technologies to do research on drugs and pharmaceuticals, and also just generally figure out things. Because I think with AI, obviously Raquel had mentioned it, it's a word that's going around right now, and it's being integrated into pretty much every aspect of our life. And I think we'll continue to do it at a pretty breakneck speed. Mark, you're probably the next logical person to ask, how has
Sure.
enterprise and government use of blockchain evolved over the last few years for Oracle? Customers in various industries, and sort of how are you seeing the growth with, different areas like supply chain and tracing things?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. First of all, very happy to be here at the summit. We have been working in the blockchain space at Oracle for probably about 7 to 8 years. When we first started looking at how to make the technology behind Bitcoin, Ethereum, and so on really practical for enterprises, which is primarily Oracle customer base, government organizations as well, and bring the underpinnings of that technologies that provides the trust in shared data, trust in transactions, etc., into real-world applications. We've launched our Oracle blockchain platform in 2018, so it's been out there for about 5 years, first as a cloud offering in Oracle Cloud, and later on premises as well. And we have seen a lot of customers who started using it. There's probably over a couple hundred customers these days in production, in very practical supply chain traceability issues, whether it's global shipping, business network, which is a maritime trading consortium, basically carriers, ports, etc., that handles about 1 in 3 containers worldwide. In electric vehicle batteries, where there is a lot of, batteries for electric vehicles require a lot of resource extraction, mining, and so on. Not Bitcoin mining, real mining, right? Ores, cobalt, etc. Some of it comes from pretty unsavory places where there is all kinds of abuses, child labor, and other things going on. So sustainable sourcing and ability to track that, we have a partner called Circular that has implemented essentially traceability of, from mining through refining, smelting, and into the battery components, and now in battery passports as cars roll off the assembly line for Volvo, Mercedes-Benz, a number of other companies around the world in automotive space primarily. And they're using our blockchain technology to provide this core capability for, I think, 30 different supply chains, over 100 different facilities around the world that are being tracked, and ultimately the products that go through that end up in something at this point over 500,000 cars, electric vehicles. But we have also seen evolution of the use of the technology from pure traceability to more of transaction-driven use cases with tokenization, digital assets, whether it's financial transactions, NFTs, and transactions from an NFT marketplace perspective, and so on, and even lately into areas such as decentralized identity, which is becoming an interesting thing for governments. In particular, we have seen some work being done by states like Rhode Island, use decentralized identity verified credentials for their business license issuing for CPAs. Utah has recently had an RFP soliciting bids in the similar area for broad range of business licenses using a blockchain technology essentially as a verifiable data registry underpinning this across all of the state agencies plus some counties as well, and so on. And abroad as well, we see that happening quite a bit in Europe, in Asia, Middle East, and so on. In the last year or so, with a lot of new hype about AI technology, we have also found interesting convergence use cases, whereas, my colleague from Deloitte was talking about, we have situations that training data sets are being applied to train different models, and sometimes you get unexpected outcomes. You want to go back and see what kind of training data was actually used. So ability to verify the quality, the accuracy of the data, track those training data sets is something that's very important. We actually had a project a few years ago, early on, with U.S. Army. There was a group in DoD that was interested in exploring applications of machine learning to predicting outcomes for veterans' healthcare and active duty healthcare. They actually started applying those models, but they wanted to make sure that all of the processes leading to collecting the data, training it that's coming from electronic health records that DoD maintains was actually being tracked, the data sets themselves, not the underlying data. So you would essentially have like a hash that would represent the data set, and you could be able to then have metadata associated with that, when it was used, who was associated with it, etc. Throughout the entire training process by multiple organizations, they partnered with some universities as well as that. So we're beginning to see the provenance of data going into AI and machine learning model being tracked in blockchain. We're also beginning to see some use cases around federated AI in certain areas, particularly in healthcare, again, because of the privacy restrictions, HIPAA regulations and so on. It's very difficult to share the data. So if you are training data on health records from a particular hospital, you're obviously going to be limited to the particular demographics in that area and the people that, had, basically access that hospital care in that region. But you might need to be able to broaden that. So there is now a concept called swarm learning, where you can have machine learning models trained at different locations on different silos of data, and then using blockchain to share essentially the weights and the parameters so that each model benefits from all of the other trainings going on for the same problem, let's say, detecting certain diseases and so on. And the swarm learning now benefiting from leveraging blockchain to create a trusted fabric of data exchange between the models that are using silo data. So the data itself stays protected and private as it's supposed to, but each model benefits from building, if you will, from the results of the other models based on other data. So there's a lot of exciting convergence capabilities I think we're going to see in the next couple of years. As we go beyond sort of large language models, obviously converting text and be able to generate text is exciting, but there is going to be, I think, a lot more use cases for generative AI beyond just, text and images that are going to make their way into real-world business applications. And those outcomes are really going to depend on ensuring the data going in is trustworthy. So there's going to be a lot more, I think, of convergence happening between blockchain and AI technologies that we're going to see.
I think Mark brings obviously he has a wealth of knowledge and experience in the area. So I'm so happy that he's on the panel to sort of espouse on that. And that's sort of what he talked about. You sort of look at what blockchain can be used for, right? We look at ethical sourcing. You look at the value that you could actually charge, you could actually add on because you are ethically sourcing things. I have a pair of Allbirds on and I pay a little bit extra for them just because they help out the environment, right? And so I think there's a group, there's a market out there that would want to pay the premium because you're helping out the world rather than destroying it. And then he brought up another part, which I think is very critical. When you look at blockchain technologies, you look at supply chain. We were back there talking about it a little bit. You look at what was happening kind of with the airplane parts, where they were different parts that were forged or they were not the authentic parts that should have been in airplanes. That can be very dangerous, right? We fly, and a lot of us fly all the time, and our air system, and particularly in the United States, is very safe. But now, because of foreign parts that are, basically plagiarized and forged out, you have an engine falling apart all of a sudden while they're flying into DFW. And so that's what we don't want. And I think, as Mark had alluded to, these technologies can be really used in a way that's both integrated, good case uses to help all of society, and to really be used in a way that I think, it kind of steps away from what we've seen with the crypto space and a lot of other areas right now, SBF and all the other things that go on with that. I think we look at the other side of it, and it's how our businesses, and I think, Raquel talked about it a little bit, and Carlo talked about it a little bit with government. Mark obviously went into a lot of detail. And now we have Zach. Zach is a very interesting character because Zach is a special ops individual who gets to use some very interesting technologies that he's only able to use because of his clearance status. So I'm going to let Zach kind of talk a little bit about himself and his work.
Yeah, appreciate it. First of all, I want to echo Carlos' sentiment. Very excited to have the summit here and everybody's leadership that brought this to the city. I grew up here in Fort Worth and very, very proud of our city, very proud of the innovation that we've seen here recently. I moved away from Fort Worth for college and country from 2005 till this summer. And coming into the city here this summer and seeing leaders like Carlo, summits like this coming in, and seeing the buy-in from the city really makes me proud of Fort Worth. And so I just want to say thank you to everybody who's kind of made this a reality, and for your continued leadership moving forward.
We got to say thank you to you because you're a veteran.
I come from a background where most people are very slow to transition. We're slow to disrupt. We're slow to pivot to new technologies and emerging techs. And the reality is that's kind of the blueprint that we all think about. But when you look at the special operations community, that's not true. And we try to flip the script on that. And so as a Green Beret on my team, I was focused on communications and technology. And the difference between us and I would say a SEAL platoon is that everybody on our team needs to be very deep in their positions and doesn't have support of other entities to tag on to us. So I was very much the nerd in our group. And the good thing about that is on a panel like this, I can give a little bit different of a perspective. And so my focus today is really to zoom out and give a more practical application not only on the ground as a special operator, but some of the things I'm doing in business with AI and blockchain. And very proud of that, very excited about it. And so as I was getting out of the military and got to see some really interesting things in AI and really interesting things in emerging technology, we tested a lot of stuff. And I was humbled when I got back at home and sitting around in my living room, and I was thinking through all this great stuff that we were trying and kind of reaching for. And I picked up a Christmas present. And this Christmas present was a vacuum cleaner. And this vacuum cleaner was a Roomba version of a vacuum cleaner that kind of comes around your living room.
That was obviously from your wife.
It was obviously from my wife, absolutely. She was like, clean up the house. And so I was blown away because a few years before that, the general wave top of that technology was very much in the top secret arena. And now using LiDAR, our vacuum cleaners could map our house. And I realized that the application of Moore's Law is just compounding deeper and deeper, and we're moving faster and faster, and things are going from top secret to unclassified to in your living room incredibly robustly quick. And I was blown away by it. And so for me, I was kind of one of those guys that I wanted to dive in quite a bit deeper and got to connect with a lot of brilliant people that were on the application side of blockchain and also on the application side of AI. And I got to sink my teeth into it and bring a lot of my fellow veterans from the special operations community along with me. And for us, that's really where we sank and kind of parked our intellectual capacities and our time. We paid a lot of attention to blockchain early on, and then now we're paying a lot of attention to AI. And I think the natural progression, as these lovely people have mentioned, is converging those two and seeing what we can do. And so for us, that's kind of where we're sitting. I've got an organization that's in the AI space that I'm a small part of, and also we've built some stuff in the blockchain arena. And so we're going to try to just dig down deep and really work on that convergence. I'm excited to talk a little bit about that tactically through some of the other questions coming in a minute, but very excited for Fort Worth and very proud to be here.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Zach. We're happy you're here too as well. So I have a general question that I'll just throw out to the panel. Looking ahead, what are your predictions for how AI and blockchain and business will continue to evolve and intersect in the upcoming years? And I'll just throw it out to any of you guys.
I mean, would you like to go first, or should I?
Go ahead.
No, I mean, I think, we probably covered a lot of the use cases that we're very bullish on, and where we see a lot of the intersection happening. But I think what I'm most excited about is when you have two technologies that are evolving so rapidly, and it truly feels like that. It feels like if you blink, right, technology's made a step change every single day. It's really a great catalyst to get your house in order, and from a data perspective, from the plumbing, from the infrastructure lens. And so what I actually see as a catalyst moving forward is there's going to be a lot more conversation around making sure the house is in order. That way we can adopt these technologies at the pace they're looking at. I also think it's going to be huge for partnerships and ecosystems. And we talk a lot about what's the value of conferences like this. And I mean, where else can you see convergence of ideas, right? And this melting pot from industries across the board. And I think it's so powerful because I think that ecosystems, partnerships, the continued pushing of innovation from those you work with is going to be so huge. So that's what I'm really excited about, looking forward at the intersection.
Rico, when you sort of work with these organizations, these companies, and you're integrating these emerging technologies, what are some of the big challenges you face? Is it a cultural challenge? Is it a technological challenge? What are some of the things that you face when you're integrating these technologies that people just think, are out there?
Yeah. Well, one of the things I'll say, I don't know if the rest of the panel agrees, but sometimes the technology is the easy part, and the harder part is getting people to align on the processes to follow. And so I spent some time early on in my career working on the consortium side of blockchain governance. And let me tell you, the blockchain is easy. It's getting multiple stakeholders in a room to agree on the right way to share data and how they want to give up that data and the channels. And so for me, I think that's why having strong innovation partners is so impactful. It's because it kind of streamlines a little bit of that work. I don't know if you'd agree it's the same.
No, I would. Yeah, absolutely. I certainly would agree that, getting companies, organizations, government agencies together to share the data and get through all of the business and legal issues that come with that is a much harder challenge than the technology underlying it. But when it comes to AI, I think one of those areas, Oracle started working on large language models over the last couple of years as well. We partnered with a company called Cohere. And one of the things that many of our customers have been telling us is that the models out there, ChatGPT, and some of the other models, out there are trained on public internet data. The problem is that gives you a very basic level of knowledge, very general level of knowledge. To apply this to a particular, business scenario, to be able to use it in a particular company setting, there is so much proprietary data that the model doesn't have access to. So we started working on something called Retrieval Augmented Generation, RAG as an acronym. Not very good one, but nevertheless, it's basically looking at how to use the private data that you have as a company within your own organization, your own databases, your own repositories, your own systems, and be able to provide that data so that through the prompting process, that data gets incorporated into the large language model, and then it can generate much better results, much better responses based on that. So that's one of the interesting areas, how to take sort of the general purpose models and make them really useful in very specific business setting or government settings, etc. And we're trying to do some really interesting research work with Cohere in that space.
That's really, that's interesting work. That's, I think, where we're trying to talk about, right? The convergence of all these technologies and how they're going to be used. Carlo, you kind of talked a little bit about that integration in the government space. I know we got a little bit of time left. Tell us a little bit about some of the issues that you face. I know government, I used to work as an advisor to the governor, so I know all about the bureaucracy. Tell us a little bit about it.
So I'll make one quick, bold prediction. So I predict that in 100 years, if you want to start a business or you want to add on a deck to your house or you want to remodel your home, that when you fill out that permit application and send it to your city, you will get an answer immediately within seconds from a machine who will have reviewed your permit application and either marked it up in red and said, this is what you need to fix, or has approved your permit application. So in 100 years, I think that machines will do 100% of that work. So the question becomes, what do we do now to make sure in 100 years, or maybe it's 50 years, that we're laying the foundation here at our local government? So we're partnering, the city of Fort Worth is partnering with IBM and Texas Christian University to work with some of their students to develop an algorithm that maybe it just gives us 10% the machine does the work and the human does the extra 90. And then maybe in 10 years, it's a 20-80%, and maybe in 30 years. So that's something we're doing right now. I have not shared. This is the first time I've announced that publicly. And I know other cities are working on it, but we want to be the first to market. And the second prediction I'll make is that the Texas Rangers next year will host the All-Star Game. That's right, it's coming to Arlington. And I predict that hopefully they will make it back to the World Series.
I think we all hope for that. I think we all are hopeful for that. It's such a great season. Zach, I'm going to let you finish it off. Tell us a little bit about, that idea of convergence and sort of where you see things going.
Yeah, so kind of echoing the question you just had, what I see in the business space right now is a lot of people raising their hand because they don't understand AI, they don't understand blockchain. They're really not even at the convergence level yet, from my perspective, that people come into our ecosystem. And so I just really counsel them on the fact that this is a digital transformation, right? You need to go about this digital transformation just like your bosses probably did about the internet when it came in, just like any large transition that you have. And the truth is that when we converge blockchain and AI, I think there's going to be compounding effects that we really don't know about yet. And I think that what we need to focus on is I like to bullet point everything my mind works in bullet points. And so I like to break it down into bullet points. And so we've got to focus on some security, we've got to focus on transparency, and we've got to focus on accountability. And adding blockchain into AI really helps us with that. Security-wise, right, we've got smart contracts, we've got decentralization. Accountability-wise, we've got the idea that we can now track, and everything that's put out on the blockchain is in a ledger, and so it's all transparent in terms of self-reliance, and in terms of accountability, and in terms of ethical considerations. We now have a ledger of all of the thought processes that came through the AI. Security-wise, we'll have the data locked in, so where nobody can corrupt the data because it's inside of the blockchain. And so for me, we start with the digital transformation with organizations that I've run into and kind of talk them through how they need to do that, just like they did anything else. And then convergence-wise, at kind of phase 2 of this, we really just kind of try to focus on those three things: accountability, the security, and then the transparency. And if you can stay inside those three arenas, I think you're doing pretty good.
Spoken like a real military man, keeping it simple. And with that, thank you so much. Again, my name is Ben Body with the Dallas Regional Chamber. Please look for the Convergence AI Dallas, and thank you so much.
Hey guys, thanks for coming out to the 2023 North American Blockchain Summit. It was the best summit yet. We look forward to hosting you again next year. If you enjoyed the summit or like what you saw in this video, be sure to subscribe. If you're interested in learning more about membership in the TBC, go to texasblockchaincouncil.org to learn more.